So we talk a lot about SIBO or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth here on this channel on how to improve it and such, but it was recently when I was making our video on steps to improve ileocecal valve dysfunction that I came across a study that gave me an insight that I feel is probably one of the biggest insights that I have come across this year. So I wanted to share that with you guys, and just keep in mind that I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving anybody medical advice. I'm basically a professional stand-up comic turned nutrition author, because when I lost my voice for 8 years, 23 different doctors couldn't help me figure that out, and I had to learn to dig for my own answers. So now I teach health professionals how to help their clients fix the actual underlying cause of what's creating trouble instead of just covering up the symptoms. So I'm going to share some science with you. We're going to go over some studies here. It's okay if I'm standing in front of them. I'll make them big so you can see that. But we've talked a lot about other causes of SIBO, but I want to kind of dig into something about a hormone that has the ability to create some trouble when it comes to SIBO. And the underlying causes of SIBO that most people can agree upon are either slow motility, where things are moving through here too slow, so that allows bacteria to accumulate and replicate and create that trouble. Low stomach acid is a big deal, and we've talked a lot about how when there's no stomach acid there, that barrier to the whole digestive tract is gone. The varmints that come in on the food that we're supposed to eat are supposed to die in that acid bath when the stomach is making enough stomach acid. But it's really common for someone not to be making enough stomach acid for a wide variety of reasons, and then that front door is open and bad guys come in and they set up camp. A lot of people talk about how the ileocecal valve, which is this valve in between the ileum and the cecum, which is right at the end of the small intestine and the large intestine. And so that ileocecal valve is kind of this one-way valve that opens up so that digested food can move into the large intestine, but then it closes so all of this fecal matter and all this good bacteria that's supposed to be here in the large intestine doesn't come back into the small intestine and set up camp there. That's when we can create trouble with a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So that's a common belief that can create SIBO. We've talked about how bile not flowing correctly, somebody's bile becoming too thick and sticky in the gallbladder so it doesn't flow down to help us really digest our food. And bile has some antimicrobial properties that people feel like kind of help out, wipe out any bacteria that got through the stomach acid. Well, then the bile takes care of it. So all those causes, most people agree on those. We've talked about those a lot. But what I want to talk about today is a hormone called gastrin. And gastrin is here in the stomach, and what happens is gastrin kind of signals the stomach, hey, why don't we make some stomach acid to digest this food? So that's the main job of gastrin. It kind of helps secrete other things that help us break down proteins as well. I won't dig too deep into that. That's not important for what we're talking about. But this gastrin also goes into the circulatory system so that it can flow through the digestive tract and go to other areas of the digestive tract without having to travel through the digestive tract to get there. So one of the jobs of the gastrin is to tell the end of the small intestine here to kind of increase the motility and then open up this valve to push the food through. So people say that, well, this happens, gastrin goes up to tell the stomach to make hydrochloric acid so we can break down and acidify that food, but then it's also sending this signal down here to, hey, let's move some things along. We need to make room for this stuff that just came in, so let's move this into the large intestine. So that's another job of gastrin. So the insight came when I found this study here on predictors of gastrin elevation following proton pump inhibitor therapy. And what they found is that the longer that somebody used a proton pump inhibitor, or a PPI, that's a medication that's used for acid reflux symptoms. And basically a PPI turns off the body's ability to make hydrochloric acid. So now the acid doesn't come back up and burn the person, and that relieves their symptoms, so they're like, yay, I fixed it. So PPIs are used to turn off stomach acid. Most people don't know that you can fix reflux in most cases by increasing stomach acid, so you trigger this LAS valve to close and that stops the reflux. We talk about that in a lot of videos. I won't get into that. What we want to cover here is in this study they showed that the thing that really triggers this gastrin to be released is food coming into the stomach. The distension that happens, pushing against the side walls of the stomach, say, oh, here comes some food, we need to signal gastrin to be released. And the other thing that signals gastrin to be released is the pH of the stomach. food coming into this acidic environment here changes the pH of the stomach, because the food is not like battery acid acidic like the environment of your stomach is. So when that pH goes more alkaline, the body's like, oh, well, we need to make gastrin so that we can acidify this food. We can see that food's in here. We can see that the pH is not acidic enough, so we're going to release this gastrin to tell the body to make this HCl so that we can acidify this food, break it down, and get the nutrients out of that food. So this study helped us understand that if someone's on a PPI turning off stomach acid, that they see elevated gastrin levels. And it makes sense. Why wouldn't they? The stomach is not acidic enough. The body released gastrin to tell the stomach to make hydrochloric acid, but then the hydrochloric acid didn't show up. So the body's like, well, that didn't work. Okay, let's get some more gastrin in there. That's the thing that makes this happen, so release more gastrin. And it releases more gastrin, still no stomach acid. So they saw that people had elevated gastrin if they've been using PPIs for an extended period of time. Here's another thing that we need to understand. A person doesn't need to be using a PPI not to be making enough stomach acid. Someone can have an inability to create stomach acid for a wide variety of reasons. Stress can do that, not having enough resources to produce that hydrochloric acid. There's a lot of reasons someone may not be producing enough hydrochloric acid. We'll put a link in the description below for our video on why can't my body make HCl if you want to dig into that a little bit more. But what we need to understand is, remember, this gastrin's job is also to signal this valve to open and release, to move things through. So if gastrin is going high and elevated, not only is it going higher to, hey, come on, let's make some acid, it's also going to do its other job. And it could be opening up this valve so that all this bacteria is flowing back into the small intestine. So this could be what's creating this SIBO for a lot of people. If they're not making enough stomach acid for one of those reasons, either a PPI, maybe they're stressed, they're stuck in the sympathetic state, maybe their body is stressed, maybe they're fine, but their body is dealing with some kind of stress, all of those things have the ability to turn off that stomach acid production. So if that's happening, that could be opening this door and leaving it open. So now they don't have enough stomach acid to kill the bad guys when they come in. Front door's open, bad guys come in, hey, let's have a cake party, this is awesome. And they come down here and they set up camp. But this low acid in the stomach, also elevating gastrin, is also leaving the back door open. So there's people coming in from both doors to this party, and the party is good for the bacteria, not so good for us. Is the party ever really good for a host? That's not a mess you want to clean up. So we're cleaning up a mess from a big party. Now, this study here on a prospective evaluation of ileocecal valve dysfunction and intestinal motility derangements in small intestinal bacterial overgrowth showed that when this is overly alkaline, the pH of this intestinal tract is overly alkaline, then it moves at a slower pace. Again, slow motility causing this SIBO issue, but the pH here can also leave this open. And it can also create constipation issues where things get backed up and then block this from closing correctly. So either the pH or things blocking that valve are another way that it can leave that door open and let these guys back into where they really shouldn't be. So gastrin going too high can be a real problem. Now there's other hormones involved like somatostatin that kind of regulate gastrin going too high, but they're triggered by this stomach acid here. So this is all really stomach acid driven. So if somebody's dealing with hypochlorhydria or low stomach acid issues, they're really opening both doors to set up for SIBO, which could explain why so many people take so much effort to wipe out a SIBO issue. 2 months later, they got it right back. Hey, look, my little friend is right back. It's come right back because they didn't close either door. They didn't fix this stomach acid function to close the front door and allow this to close so the back door is closed as well. So when we're looking at steps at correcting this, supplementing with betaine HCl is a really big deal. I'll put a link below for this study on mealtime supplementation with betaine HCl for functional hypochlorhydria. I've talked about this study in other videos, but they showed that when someone is not making enough stomach acid and they're creating all these symptoms like bloating and burping and indigestion and dyspepsia and constipation, all the things that we see come with low stomach acid, that when they supplemented with betaine HCl, which is a supplemental form of the HCl that your stomach would make, then they improved those symptoms. And if we could properly acidify the stomach in the middle of the meal, that's how we teach people to do it. If you did it too early, then would you restrict gastrin from being elevated at all? So we take HCL capsules in the middle of the meal, and you really want to do it the right way. I'm not going to dig too much into this in this video, but we'll put a link in the description below for our totally free digestion course, and that walks you through how to use HCL the right way. You really want to do it the right way, and you also want to understand how to avoid possible troubles that can come up, because if someone also has an overgrowth here in the stomach, and then you put acid in there, it has the ability to really magnify some symptoms that a person is dealing with. So a person will take HCL, they'll feel a lot worse, and like, oh man, that wasn't for me, that made me worse. But they really need to understand how to reduce an overgrowth, either here in the stomach or start working on bringing this overgrowth down before they start really acidifying their stomach correctly, and then they can do that without as much trouble. So it's important to understand how to do that. I'll put the link to that below. But I just kind of wanted to explain that this really can be the cause for SIBO for some people, and especially those relapse type issues. So I hope that helps, and right now if you want to get more insights into how to get an idea if you're dealing with a SIBO issue or how to track your progress at home, you can jump over and check out our video on how to check on SIBO at home. I can't wait to hear about your results.